Hey guys, this is Mark Hutten, and I was going to respond to some emails, and I thought it might be just as easy to do it in this video, and then I'll put a link up for all you people who are members of online parent coaching. These are the questions that you have sent me today, and so instead of giving you individual responses via email, we'll just do this quick video, and I'll answer them here in this video, and then I'll send you a link. For those of you who are not a member of online parent coaching, just feel free to go to myaspergerschild.com. There's a link there. You can sign up. Okay. So let's take our first question here. Okay, first question. Why is my child fascinated with water? Well, think of water as a total sensory experience for children on the autism spectrum. They can see it, smell it, taste it, feel it. So it's a total sensory input. Unfortunately, a lot of kids on the spectrum are not only drawn to water, but they're not afraid of it. And there's been a lot of reported cases of drownings, kids drowning that are also on the autism spectrum because of the fact that they're simply not afraid of water, and in some cases have no concept of depth. So they could just hop in a swimming pool that's 6 foot deep. And then you have problems, of course. So anyway, that's why they're fascinated with water, and so that's a good reason for all parents with children on the spectrum to see to it that their child knows how to swim. Good question. Okay, next question. Why can't my son wear normal shirts and pants with tags? Well, most kids on the spectrum have sensory sensitivities, and one of those is sensitivity to touch. So that's a very common thing. They don't like tight collars, they don't like tags, they don't like stiff fabrics. So you can buy tagless clothes, or you can remove the tags yourself, and you can use a lot of whatever kind of fabric softener that you can get to make some of the more stiff fabrics and itchy clothes be a little more tolerable. So yeah, that's a very common thing. You may have to experiment around with some clothes that he will wear. Cotton is usually a good choice. So. Okay, next question. Why does my child not seem to feel pain or hot or cold? Well, there's a lot of theories on that, and I'm just going to share one with you. And that is, if a child is not on the gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free diet, they often can't distinguish pain or hot or cold temperatures because the gluten and the casein act as opiates in their bodies and kind of disguises that pain. So you could think of the gluten and casein as being like painkillers in the child's system. And so he's not sensitive to temperatures or, I can tell you that there's been many cases where a child has even broke his arm, and he just kept playing as if he hadn't broken an arm because he simply couldn't feel the pain. So putting your child on the gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free diet usually solves this problem. So good question. Okay, next question. Why can't my child follow directions? Well, it's not that he can't, it's that for some reason he doesn't. Children on the spectrum don't learn through assimilation as well as typical children do. And by assimilation, I mean it's hard for them to learn a concept over here and then generalize that concept to other situations that are similar. So kids on the spectrum have to be taught all the steps in any process over and over again until they get it. And this usually requires visual and verbal cues, because as many of you know, autistic kids are very visual. So kids on the spectrum can be taught to follow directions, but they first need to learn all the steps in each task. Okay, and you're going to be able to accomplish that best through visual instruction. Okay, thank you. Okay, next question. My daughter will rip and bite her shirt to pieces. Why is she doing this? What can I do to get it stopped? Well, there's several things that could be going on there. And by the way, that is a fairly common problem, where the child will bite on his shirt or rip his shirt. Yeast overgrowth can cause that. This is also a sensory integration issue, so you may want to find an occupational therapist trained in sensory integration, and also get your daughter on a sensory diet that includes something to chew on other than her shirt. So when she starts to chew on her shirt, you may want to give her a chew toy, for example, instead. This can also be caused by a vitamin or mineral deficiency, so you may want to test for that. Some kids with allergies will chew on their shirts, and parents have reported that when they treat the home environment for allergies, that a lot of this shirt chewing and ripping stops. And also, you may want to check your detergent for gluten, because as strange as it may sound, some detergents have gluten in there, and gluten can be an addictive property for kids on the spectrum, so they may be chewing on their shirt to get the gluten that was in the detergent. So good question. Okay, we have another question about fear. Why does my child have no fear? Well, children on the spectrum have trouble with cause and effect. In other words, they have difficulty being able to rationalize in their mind that if I engage in this activity, the result will likely be this. And they also have a poor sense of spatial awareness. In other words, how far things are away from them or what the angle is. So it's very hard to teach things like, if you run out in the road, you're likely to be hit by a car, and then that would hurt. It's hard, to teach that without actually letting them run out in the road and get hit by a car and then feel the pain associated with being hit by a car. So, you can tell them things like, you don't want to put your hand on the stove because it's going to be painful. But unfortunately, a lot of kids on the spectrum are not fearful of that and may test it. They may see a hot burner, put their finger on there. Then they've learned, unfortunately, from the School of Hard Knocks that a red burner causes pain in the fingers. So anyway, yeah, they have trouble with cause and effect, and they have trouble with spatial awareness. And so a lot of things that a normal child is afraid of and should be afraid of, the child on the spectrum needs to be taught these things. So thank you. Good question. Okay, we've got one more question here. My son will scream bloody murder whenever we go into a bank. I haven't been able to figure this out. It's the strangest thing. Why would he be doing that? Well, again, I would just be speculating as to why, but I can tell you that banks have security systems and lights that make a very high frequency noise that most people can't hear. As you may or may not know, a lot of children on the spectrum have very good hearing, and they can hear a dog barking way off in the distance, or they can hear somebody scraping their plate in the other room, or they can hear fluorescent lights and all this. And not only do they hear it, but it distracts them from whatever they're trying to focus on at the time. So don't be surprised, and next time you go to the bank, you may want to try to listen for this. Don't be surprised if there's some high frequency noises going on there that you can't hear, or that nobody else can hear, but your child can. So if you go there and you discover that there is some high frequency noises going on, what I would suggest doing is just use the drive-through, or obviously just leave your child at home instead of taking him in the bank. And there's also noise canceling headphones. I would be surprised, quite honestly, if he only does this at the bank. That probably happens in some other scenarios as well. So whenever he screams bloody murder, whenever you go into a particular place, it probably has more to do with sound than it does sights or smells or anything like that. So in that case, I would encourage you to just get some noise canceling headphones, or let him take his iPod with him. Okay, great question. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for today. I probably will do this again tomorrow, because this actually goes much faster than answering these questions individually in emails. Again, I'm going to put this video on YouTube, and all you members of Online Parent Coaching, I'm going to send you a link later today. If you're not a member of Online Parent Coaching, just go to myaspergerschild.com and feel free to sign up, and I'll take your questions on a daily basis. Thanks, guys. Oh, by the way, this is Mark Hutten. See ya.